Thank you so much for joining us today. Listen, we are just so excited. We wanted to take some time to just share with you a little bit about Women with Grit. What is the story behind it? How do we get started with it? You know, I've got partner in crime here, Lee Moulette.
Hey, what's going on?
And I'm Sherelle Lands, and we're just so excited about this concept called Women with Grit, where we interview just exceptional women within the community and around the world who are doing phenomenal things. So how do we get started with this concept, Lee?
Well, I think ultimately it was a reaction to COVID. We were literally working on a different concept that involved women and really helping women have the opportunities to progress in their careers, and we're really putting something together to do that. And we had all these people lined up to interview and to get information from, and COVID happened. So
that changed life for everyone.
It did, and so for us, we were talking one day, and so we were talking about what we're doing, and I said, I'm thinking about doing this podcast, and I'm thinking about doing this, and you said, oh, okay, let's do it. And so Women with Grit came.
There it is. Big on execution, we make it happen.
Yes, so it's been exciting.
Yes, it has. We've had just phenomenal guests even over the last year, and looking forward to all that's coming ahead. So how can they reach us?
They can reach us on YouTube, Exceptional Women with Grit. You can subscribe to our page. You can check out our Facebook page, Women with Grit, or you can go to our website, womenwithgrit.com.
That's it.
And the best way to catch us is Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Central Time, when Sherelle and I are live with our guests. And literally, I think the most exciting thing for me is what we talked about. We wanted to have a program that addressed that brought in women from around the world. So that's our globe here. We literally interview people in Bogota, Colombia, over in London, and then all over the United States as well. So that's been exciting. That's one of the benefits of COVID. Everybody's used to this virtual world, and nobody feels like they have to fly in to be live in the studio.
That's right. So hopefully you will join us live or catch the replay, right?
Replays, that's right. We have a bunch of replays, and I mean, if I were you, I would binge listen. People binge watch on Netflix, binge listen and watch Women with Grit. There have been some phenomenal interviews and some phenomenal tips that will help anyone. We have men and women that watch.
That's right.
And I think the tips that you get, the things that you learn from these women that are our guests will help anyone advance their careers, advance their lives, and just really live a full life and a happy life. And I think that's exciting.
Yes, I would agree 100%. So if you're interested, definitely join us, follow us, engage with us, like us, share it, all of those things. And if you know a phenomenal woman or a woman with grit that you would recommend being on the show, be sure that you write us on any one of those forums, and a member of our team will get back to you.
Yes. And don't forget, if you have a product or service, a company that you want to promote or a cause, give us a shout. We're happy to do that. There is a cost. But it's not much, not yet. So you better get in while it's cheap.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you. And so far, we'll see you online.
Talk to you later. Peace.
Bye.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Women with Grit. It's your friend Lee Moulette and my super co-host Sherelle Lands. How are you today, Sherelle? I can't hear you.
How about now?
Yeah.
I said, I'm great. How are you? I'm great.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm digging the cap.
Yes, my new company that's sponsoring my son. It's actually it's the university, so it's UConn.
Okay, awesome.
Since they're paying for his tuition. So
congratulations.
Yeah. And women, you all always say you all have bad hair days. I have a bad hair day today, so I keep the cap on.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, you're laid and all today, but not your boy. No.
It's International Women's Day, It is. Trying to represent for my ladies well, hopefully doing that. But absolutely, I get it.
Yep. And happy International Women's Day, everyone. Hope this day has been fulfilling, and you're getting the recognition that you deserve for all that you do, and not just today, which just brings everything to light, but year round. And that's what we aim to do here, Sherelle, with Women with Grit, is to recognize people year round for the accomplishments that they're making and the contributions they're making to our society.
I agree. I mean, I think it's just so important, right? Just gender equality, things of that nature. And that's why we do what we do, which is to shed a light on women who are doing amazing things around the world.
Indeed, indeed. What you've been doing with we had a little bit of time off. Now, part of it was my fault, or not really my fault. It was a senior year. So I've been watching this boy, he's had games every Tuesday and Friday. Unfortunately, yesterday they lost to a very, very good beach team in the subsectional. So the winner goes to the state tournament, and loser goes home. So you got a kid down the hall and chilling out, doing homework for the first time early in quite a while. Not first time doing homework, but just early in the day.
I got you.
It's after practice. But shout out to the Ravenwood Raptors. They won the regional tournament, so they're the regional champs. And the 18-year-old was MVP of the regional tournament. So shout out to him, and shout out to the coaches and everyone at Ravenwood High School for a great year. This is the furthest they've ever gone in a tournament in the season period in their entire existence. So really excited about that. And the boys really played very, very hard and left it all on the court. That's the way you want to end up in your career. Is tired.
Yeah, and not only that, having fun and enjoying what they do and enjoying the craft. So that's awesome.
Exactly. And shout out to the girls team. The girls came to the regional tournament as well. They won the district, so the district champions, the Ravenwood Lady Raptors. They kicked butt.
Awesome.
And they lost to a very good Cookeville team in the subsectional. So hey, it was a great year at Ravenwood. Definitely proud of everyone. Those young ladies, they came a long way. You didn't see them. If you seen them a couple of years ago, you never would have thought they would be as good as they are. So shout out to them. There's a young lady on their team, Reagan Grimes, who committed to play next year at Tennessee Tech.
Okay, good stuff.
Yeah. So she's excited, and her parents are excited too. They have 2 kids on full rides. The other one, their son, is at Oklahoma playing football.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. And especially just the aspect of team building that you learn, especially when you play sports as a whole, the aspect of leadership development, that's all we could ask for our youth.
Exactly.
So I think that's wonderful.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, hey, I'm excited about I'm excited about today's show. Meg Epstein. Yeah, Meg Epstein. She's a super developer. You think about this development world that I'm in, you rarely run across women and even fewer that are doing it at the level that she's doing it at. So she's doing awesome. She and I sit on a board, the Civic Design Center board together. So I've gotten a chance to see her in action and meet her, and she's phenomenal. So looking forward to learning more from her. Before we get started, let's thank our sponsors. We're going to thank Perry Wealth Management. So Terrell Perry, you can reach him at Terrell at Perry, Perry, wealthsolutions.com. Terrell at Perry wealthsolutions.com. MJC Insurance Group, you can reach Brianna at mjcins.com and just shoot her a message that you're looking for a quote or need to get in touch with her. Definitely Sherelle Lands, SherelleLands.com. Success it's all what she's about and implementation. So check her out. Check out all the books and courses and hire her as a consultant if you're trying to move to the next level in your business or life. And then we want to thank the Table Action LLC. Check out the website www.thetableaction.com. Some phenomenal things going on with the Table, and we may get into that a little later. And of course, Frank Stanton Developers. So if you're looking for an amazing place to live, work, or play, give us a holler. We're working on our project down on Church Street, 129 condos, and we have several
new construction. Everybody's looking for houses right now, so we're kind of selling everything out pretty quick out in the Brentwood area.
That's good.
All right. And I got a little one here that wants to.
Hi.
I want to take it off.
Oh, you want to take this off?
How are you?
All right. This is Luke.
Gotta
Hey, Luke.
love it.
Yes, indeed.
Hey, Luke. How are you? You doing okay, Luke? That's the one thing I love that COVID has done. COVID has really, I think, brought out the human aspect and element of family. And, it's just where it's so common for us to have the babies come across the street. See, look at that. That's just so adorable.
Yes. It is.
I love that.
We love it for sure. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and get started.
All right. So we're so excited. Yes, I want to definitely tell you a little bit more about Meg as well. Definitely want to say hey to you all. So thank you for taking the time to join in to Women with Grit. Be sure to leave your city and state where you are joining in from tonight, and go ahead and hit that like, share button. Bring another woman into this. Today is International Women's Day, right? So we want to definitely do so and share it. And what better way to do that with an amazing woman that we're about to bring on the stage here in just a second with Meg Epstein. So go ahead and be sure to do that. Share this. Grab your favorite beverage and snack of choice. Guys, we know that we're on at a new time, so help us get the word out about that as well, so we can ensure that we continue to share the amazing stories about these phenomenal women who are doing just exceptional things around the city. You guys are in for a treat with Meg Epstein tonight. So Meg was born in California, but today she calls Nashville, Tennessee home, and she is a real estate developer and has over a decade of experience creating efficient, modern lifestyles for people where it matters most. Their home and the neighborhoods, developing and establishing spaces that support whole living and simplifying home and work life for individuals is a personal passion of hers. And to that end, Meg founded CA South in 2016 with the idea of bringing Nashville her sense of design and style of building honed from her days constructing in California, bringing the West Coast over to the East, So Meg quickly recognized the unique undersupply of residential condos in this market and began by being focused on this asset class. As CA South raised its first dedicated fund in early 2019, the firm expanded beyond residential condos to include the multifamily mixed use, industrial and office projects, as well as an opportunity zone funds. Meg offers unparalleled expertise and resources in real estate investors, developers, and strategic partners. And over the course of her career, she's been involved in the development and construction of over 1 million square foot of residential and commercial real estate, representing over 780 million to date. Meg is a licensed commercial contractor, licensed residential contractor, CCIM candidate, and licensed real estate agent, as well as just a good friend of mine as well. So I want to go ahead and bring to the stage Meg Epstein. Hey, Meg.
Hey, thank you. Wow, what an introduction.
Hey, Meg, how are you?
Good. How are you both? Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Looks like a cool jacket that you have on.
Oh, yeah, I guess. Had it a while, but yeah. It got cold all of a sudden again. It was a tease of spring.
Yes, it did.
Right.
Yes, it did.
Speaking of.
Yeah. So, how's your day been today? What's the life of a developer these days?
Long and tightly scheduled always. So, I told my person who runs my schedule, Bree, I said, no more back to back from 7:30 a.m. please, because I when I get to the office I have to talk to the people that are here, otherwise I don't know why I'm here. But yeah, it's good. Just very back to back lately. Busy time. Spring's always very busy, and as you guys know, especially I mean, working in real estate. But
yes, very, very, very much so. It's a good time to be in Nashville, though.
Yeah,
it is.
So how did you find Nashville from California? And of course, a lot of Nashvillians want to know also. They feel like Californians are running up the price of their of their real estate here with so many people moving here. And part of that's a joke, but how did you find Nashville from California?
Yeah, I don't want to be lumped in with the current group of Californians because I consider myself a full on Nashvilleian at this point because I've been here for 7 years or so. So I feel like I've completely converted. And I'm not the same as who's been moving in because I'm one of those Nashvilleians going, oh no, all the prices are raising because all these people from New York and California are coming. But
Right.
I actually moved for my husband when I met him. He's from San Francisco, but he lived here. And it was just one of those things where I kind of knew right away I was going to marry him. And I just picked up and moved. And every time I came to visit him, I brought a big suitcase and just kind of it happened very quickly. So it wasn't because I'm some real estate savant. It's because for love.
Gotcha.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It made the final move easy because all your stuff had already made it here.
Yeah. It was just very beneficial. There's a perfectly timed commercial real estate market, but I got lucky in that sense.
Indeed.
That's beautiful. So Meg, tell us, we always like to start with, just learning more about you and your story of grit. So tell us, what is your story of grit?
Yeah, I know I was thinking about the title of the podcast, but essentially, I had really no business doing what I'm doing now. I run a commercial real estate development company, and I manage wrapping up my first fund, but my second fund. And the people I work with are brilliant. I mean, I have MBAs on staff and people that are very have much more pedigree than me, but I really didn't have any experience or background in commercial real estate when I started. I graduated in 2008. There were no commercial development jobs, even though I always wanted to be a developer. And I had to kind of work my way up through construction. And so I was on job sites with a bunch of, subcontractor type guys and, in a trailer eating off a food truck every day when I first graduated from college, when most of my friends were working in tech and had fun, cool, sexy offices and jobs. And I was on a job site, we're talking about plumbing and framing and really kind of learning the ins and outs of construction. And so that was how I got into development, and it was a very roundabout way. When I look at other groups in town and how they've become developers, or, a lot of it's very centric around finance. And I just didn't have that background. I just kind of had to, my first investors, my first couple of investments, I posted online. I cold called thousands of people. I still cold call people, but that was how I first raised my first funds in real estate and my first attracted my first private equity investor. And then, more and more I got more and more institutional over time. But that was probably the hardest part, was kind of, starting your own company, working for nothing for years, having to raise capital from nothing. That was the beginning of the company. And so a lot of people don't believe that now, or they have, they could be like, oh, well, Megs just comes from a rich family or something. And it's just one of those things that's, it's like grit you talk about.
Yeah. And as you say that, I think a lot of entrepreneurs think that the startup, that you go from zero to making lots of money. But like you said, even in your case, it's been the aspect of sometimes working from nothing, being able to start where you are and kind of cultivate along the way. What do you feel when you think through, your career, when you think through what the tipping point has been for you to go from, like you said, working the contractual space into the commercial real estate space?
I think for me, the first thing I did, I'm obviously timed well in a market, but I took a set of courses about real estate, about commercial real estate investment that kind of helped me, but they were accessible to anybody, really. Most of them, you can take them online, especially during COVID. And it was something that really gave me a foundation. And it's just, a lot of what you can learn has been written in a book, and it sounds kind of cliche, but I think if you're willing to sort of roll up your sleeves and do your own, reading and studying, that you can learn a lot that way. And it doesn't necessarily mean you need a degree in something or need to pay for some fancy, college to tell you this, because honestly, like most of what I learned, I mean, I went to great school, UCLA, but I honestly don't think I've applied anything I've learned from UCLA to what I do now, to be honest. Maybe accounting, I took some accounting classes, but other than that, I mean, it was mainly theoretical and not very vocational. And so I would just, there is knowledge out there for people if they're willing to do the work and persevere through it. So I'd say that's the first step. If, you're interested in doing any type of business, is just reading about it. And I still continue to read a lot. I read, autobiographies of other great developers, or like Gerald Hines, or, like other business books and things like that. So that was one of the first things. And then the second thing, I mean, yeah, it took me a lot of years of struggling, to be honest, to push through. And I think that's a common theme whenever you listen to any, story of any entrepreneurs, just being able to last long enough to kind of push through and get that traction for sure.
Absolutely. No comment. Are you talking, Lee? Okay, you're not talking. Okay, which I think is so important to be able to do that. But then also when you think about your journey, and I love the fact that you led with the fact that for you, it was about the aspect of love and cultivating your way along the way. When you think about those that have inspired you along the way, and we haven't even touched the magnitude of what you have done, which we will absolutely get to for sure. But tell us about those who have inspired you along the way, those who have cheerleaded your success. I love the fact that you also said that you personally made the cold calls, that you did the work, you put in the time to really build the organization, and you didn't necessarily have to have or be in the space, which talks to the level of grit and what you've been able to do. But tell us a little bit more about that, the support people who have cheerleaded your success.
Yeah, honestly, there's so many people. I mean, even today, I was just in an event before with a group called ULI, which is an industry, for my industry, a group. And, people come up to me and they're just so friendly. I mean, what I could say about Nashville versus where I came from in California is this: just everybody's so encouraging, and there's positive reinforcement, and like it's not this competitive thing. People genuinely want you to succeed. And I feel that, for other women that I meet in business, or other people in real estate, or just anyone I know, I feel that same sort of empathy with other people, because that's been passed on to me. And that's just a different environment than where I came from, where it was just very competitive and people didn't share contacts or wouldn't share investors or things like that. And so I can genuinely say that the Nashville community has been super welcoming. And I mean, in the beginning, definitely my husband, that's hands down. He's been there for me for sure, since the very, very beginning, and, moved to different homes I was flipping, and just, the life of a real estate developer just kind of with me. But I've had many mentors. Like I mentioned, Gerald Hines is one. Books, Stephen Schwartzman, he started Blackstone. Different books I've read, I've really looked up to these people. But then even in person, the Deutschmans are a local couple that really embrace entrepreneurship, and then, other developers in town. For me, my first investor, who I cold called off of a directory, took a chance on me, and it ended up turning into, about $150 million worth of deals. And I had no track record, I had no money, I had nothing. And it was kind of the right place at the right time. He was looking to get into Nashville, and I had a deal, and, I had to call him. I called his office like several times. He never said no. And he finally was just like, okay, fine, I'll come down there. And it was just that sort of perseverance. And so if I had to think of, I mean, he was definitely very integral in the beginning of my career, and we're still very close now. And so there's been a lot of people along the way, and I can say that the environment changed a lot for me when I came to Nashville. And it felt like everyone was kind of behind, me and helping in commercial real estate. So
I love that.
Yeah. So, and it's, of course, the common saying is that it's, everybody that's an entrepreneur started off rich, but oftentimes, oftentimes it's after several years of being broke.
yeah, I mean, or negative even. I remember going yeah, I mean, I have girlfriends just like, oh, I'm so broke. And I'm like, no, you could be like negative hundreds of. Yeah, I mean, it's a sad, and it shouldn't, it doesn't always have to be like that. And I definitely don't encourage that. But when I first started out, I mean, I don't know, I kind of learned the school of hard knocks way.
So where did you pull on where did you pull on the grit to kind of power through? I mean, I've been there. So what did you lean on, and what did you pull on within yourself to move yourself and continue to grow your company?
For me, when I first started, it was in homes and like higher end houses. And I essentially failed at that when I got to Nashville, because there just wasn't, I came from California where there was $10-20 million homes, and that just didn't exist here. Mm-hmm. And for me, I really had to kind of reset in 2016 before I went into commercial development and started taking those courses. And I knew that I couldn't fail, and I wasn't ready to give up my career. I mean, I had worked towards this for a long time. I just wasn't willing. In the beginning, I would just kind of had my own ideas about what would be successful, as opposed to looking and listening to the market. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs make that mistake of, this is a great idea because I like it. Well, it's not necessarily like I could have succeeded in homes now because I was building ultra modern homes in Belmead, right. Now you have all these Californians and New Yorkers that would love it. I was just ahead of my time, apparently. Uh-huh. But when I was doing it, it was horribly ineffective, because that wasn't what people needed and wanted. And I think that entrepreneurs make that mistake, and you really have to be willing to step beyond your own biases and really look at what's needed and wanted in the market. And I think for me, I just kind of kept coming back to not, I wanted to do something impactful and great. And I knew I wanted it to be in real estate. I wasn't willing to give it my career. I was still very young. I mean, when I first started CA South, I was 28 or something. So it's like I had a runway ahead of me. I don't know. It was just that sort of perseverance of not being able to fail and wanting to do something big. I mean, I couldn't just have a normal life, I guess. And I couldn't work for anyone, to be honest, because I just was a horrible employee. So I didn't really have a choice in the end.
As you say that, Meg, what comes to mind, especially with today being International Women's Day, is the theme of breaking the bias. And it's about being able to advocate for, gender equality, things of that nature, lifestyles that minimize the aspect of discrimination in certain areas or aspects, whether it's a financial industry, STEM, et cetera, so on and so forth. And it keeps coming back to the aspect of persevering in an area where you are purposed. And you spoke about exactly like what you said, you wanted to be intentional and impactful in an area that you felt purposed and led to. Are there other areas where you lend your time that you're passionate about as well, in addition to real estate?
I think, as I said, I'm pretty involved in the community with Civic Design Center, ULI, parks, greenways, shaping the built environment. I work a bit on human rights. I think that I love that Nashville is a volunteer state, and that people are so cognizant of that, especially in this environment. With everything going on in the world, it's like you have to be able to dedicate some of your own time for helping others. So that's definitely something I've try to focus on and try to balance. And, what I find as an entrepreneur is that if I spend 40 hours a week in the office, or I spend 20 hours a week in the office, I actually think I'm more effective with the 20 hours. And so I really try to block out time, quality time for my own philanthropic ventures or my family or my other goals, because I think it makes me well-rounded and a better CEO, as opposed to being totally burnout.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It does, we have to, and I think this happens to people in corporate as well. Just, burnout is real, and we have to figure out how to the term work-life balance has been coined, and it's real, and I think we just have to decide it. So what do you like to do outside of community service and working? What's the fun stuff that Meg likes to do?
Honestly, I'm really just probably pretty boring. I mean, it's just I like cooking, and I really like a domestic home life. I mean, people think I'm this ball busting real estate developer or something, but I really I am a wife in the end, and I like cooking and being at home, and taking weekends away with my husband for sure. He's a big sailor. We like going sailing. We try to sneak away for the weekends, but there is a lot of, even if I'm not in my office working, I'm usually strategically planning or, going on walks and figuring out, I go to yoga or whatever and try to spend time with friends, but just always kind of forward thinking and strategically planning for sure when I get out of the office. So it is a full-time job, but I do love it. And I think I don't know, there's definitely worthwhile goals and, being an entrepreneur, but I do try to balance it. And I do tend to be extremely sedentary when I'm not, when it's not during the week, because I'm so hard charging during the week, and I wake up very early. I get up at 4:30, 4 a.m. And so usually on the weekends, or if I go away, I just want to go to the spa or just relax.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that those are so important. Meg, would you believe that we are halfway through this thing?
I know, it's crazy
already. So we are going to pull you backstage, give you an opportunity to grab a drink or grab something to eat. Look at this one. He's so cute.
Yeah, he's trying to eat me, eat my cheeks.
That's so cute. And then we'll come back up and bring you up for the second half of our interview, where we will give the audience an opportunity to ask you questions directly. And I'm not letting you get off the stage before we toot your horn about the amazing things that you have done and the recognition that you have gained as well. So we'll give you just a moment to do that and then bring you back up. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right. So you guys, we are on tonight with Meg Epstein. Listen, an amazing developer. Meg is doing some really phenomenal things around the community within Nashville. And so you guys make sure that you look her up. We'll make sure to put her information on the screen so you can connect directly with Meg as well. In the meantime, any questions that you have for her, be sure to leave them in the chat function, and we will be sure to get them answered as well. So I want to make sure that we shout you out. So as you join in, feel free to leave your name and city and state in the comments field so we can address you accordingly. Hey, Justin, how are you? What side of the world are you joining in from? Are you here in the States? Are you out of the country? We want to make sure that we shout you out. And hey, Lauren, how are you? Lauren, where are you joining in from? Be sure to let us know, because we want to make sure to shout you out as well tonight here. Also, so you guys are joining us tonight on Women with Grit, where we truly believe in interviewing exceptional women who are doing amazing things around the community. So, Lee, how are things going for you in your space? We see you've got your little person on lap. And are there anyone that we want to thank in terms of sponsorships right now?
Right now, he's trying to get a potato chip sponsor.
I love it. I love the fact that kids, they command our presence and our attention, and life, around us just doesn't matter. So I love the aspect of that.
Yes, that they do. And with that in mind, if you don't have life insurance, you need to call Terrell Perry, or reach out to him at Terrell at perrywealthsolutions.com, perrywealthsolutions.com, because these little people need resources even if you're not here. So they want their chips even if you're not here. So make sure you have everything in place, and also put your financial plan in place. Also, we want to shout out SherelleLands.com, Sherelle Lands, and just everything that you need to do and learn to really. I think what I really love about what Sherelle always talks about is implementation, execution, and implementation, and those are so very important, because so many of us come up with so many plans and don't execute. So with that, I'm gonna go take care of this guy, and I'll
let's get him some tips.
Yeah.
He'll be good. And I'm
right.
going to go ahead and bring back up Meg. So again, if you guys have any questions, thoughts, considerations that you want to bring for Meg, be sure to leave them in our comments function, and we will be sure to get them over to her as well. So Meg, you have done some amazing things along the way. You're extremely accomplished, especially as a young professional in the area of women in construction, right? Which is, I wouldn't even necessarily say that it's taboo, but it's a difficult industry to really break into and really find, bootstrap your way to success. And so I definitely want to make sure that I commend you in being able to do that in a predominantly male dominated field. The question that I have for you, because regardless of the field, as women, we sometimes work through the areas of doubt, whether it be within ourselves or our craft. Have you ever experienced that along the way? And if so, how did you overcome it?
If I experienced doubt, is that what you mean?
Yeah. Doubt or any self-limiting beliefs along the way. So an example,
it's probably, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Give me an example that'll help.
Yeah. So an example I'll give, some of our guests talk a lot about underpricing their services. And for them, it has been the aspect of, wanting to make sure that they got in to get the sale. So sometimes they go in for a lower bid and they feel that the service is really being what it's really worth. Or another example is that some of our guests have talked a lot about just the comfort in making the ask and really being able to raise their hand and say, hey, listen, I've got this amazing idea, need the funding behind it, but really kind of struggle with getting there. So any of those things, and it may not have been those for you, but have you ever dealt with any, we call them self-limiting beliefs or doubts within yourself that you had to overcome as you have begun to climb in your career?
Yeah, I can see that. I probably had the opposite problem in that I literally had no idea what I was doing. So I didn't realize how hard it was going to be.
Yeah.
And if I look back now with all of the, all the development deals I've done now, and I look back and I would go, oh my gosh, what was I thinking cold calling people for equity? Because it's so hard to get institutional investment and get a deal out, to build a real estate development deal out of the ground. It's very hard, as Lee knows.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just, there's a million things that have to go into it. And if I looked back and I knew all of that, I probably wouldn't have just cold call people or just try to figure it out. So it was sort of I guess I was blessed in some way that I didn't have that sort of rough.
I think it's a great strength. Yeah.
Yeah, like once you know how tough it is, it's like, okay, then you can tell yourself it's going to be tough, but I just didn't have that.
Yeah.
But no, of course, I don't know if it's just, my dad is a great guy, and my mom as well. They just sort of raised me in a way where they just kind of said I could do anything I wanted to do. And so it was just sort of what I thought, you know what I mean? I just didn't think beyond that. So I was very blessed in that way to have supportive parents. But if I look back, there's always times, I always have people commenting or saying things about me, or, saying no to a deal or something like that. But what I realize, or what I think other people as an entrepreneur, other people in business, is that if one person tells you no, fine. Like you have to call 100 people, or you have to be pitching, you know, if you want to sell your service for X amount, then, you know, you need to call 100 people to do that. And maybe like one of them says yes, or 5 of them say yes. And that's what I feel like people don't really estimate the correct amount of effort it takes to accomplish something big, right? And so if someone says no, great, call more people, someone will say yes. That's kind of my approach. And so I really don't get down. I mean, there's always going to be haters, and there's always going to be people that say things about you that aren't true, or say, I mean, I've heard the craziest rumors about me before. I mean, you know, my true friends come and tell me, but I'm like, I hear this stuff and I'm just like you just can't fuel
Everything.
You know, yeah, you just can't. You really got to focus on the positive and be able to sort of create enough so that you can succeed. That's what I would say. And so I've almost, I guess it's one of my probably worst and best traits, is that I can completely compartmentalize negative thoughts or people, for sure.
You better get good at it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think that that's a bad thing to compartmentalize negativity, for sure.
No. Yeah. You know, I always tell people, you know, a lot of times people will say, oh, you know, on social media, everything looks good. And I say, well, those are people that have figured out a way not to celebrate and pontificate and live on the negative. They're looking at the great stuff. And that's why they always feel good, and they're happy to share the positive things. You don't need anybody sharing a whole lot of negative stuff. So,
yeah.
Right. Especially in any type of, you know, corporate life, if you're moving up the corporate ladder, or if you're an entrepreneur and you're looking for your next, you know, dollar or next deal, it's exactly what you said. You may talk to 20 or 30 people or 100 people. It's only the 101st one. You just need the one that says yes. You don't really need the ones that say no.
Yeah, exactly.
To be successful, right?
Finding your right fit.
Yes. So Meg, when you think of, you know, people are thinking, you know, they're looking at, I'm asking you an industry question, but when people look at Nashville, and, you know, I hear a lot of people say, oh, it's a bubble. You know, some people, you know, and some investors are like, you know, when's it going to stop? Especially if they're not here. You know, when's it going to stop? I might need to hold back. You know, what do you say to that? And what do you see driving the growth here in Nashville?
You know, I think that it's just too fundamentally, just having lived coming from the coast. I've lived in New York and San Francisco and LA for, you know, my whole life up until I moved to Nashville. And the discrepancy between cost of living and the great lifestyle and all the other things that you get being in Nashville is just too great when you compare it to the coast, right? So you have music, and you have, you know, you have all the things that make Nashville. And then not only that, you also have the university, you know, you have Vanderbilt and Belmont and Fisk and all these great, you know, and TSU and all these great universities. And then you have tech moving in, Amazon, Oracle, obviously finance, AllianceBernstein. It's really the job growth that I think is what will create, you know, maybe it is a bubble, but it's going to last for at least a decade, right?
Right.
And so I do think we are insulated somewhat because of all that job growth and the central location of Nashville. And so, I mean, I've been selling Nashville because, you know, when I first moved here, you could just pull your car up when you got to the airport and just park and get your bags. Did you guys remember that?
The good old days.
Yeah, it was the good old days. You could just park on Broadway and go listen to some music or whatever. I mean, it's a different, but I've been, you know, I mean, that's the Nashville that I moved to. And I still think there's a lot of great, you know, aspects of the city that are just so much easier to live than grinding it out in a big primary market. And so I think that is, you know, unfortunately it will change over time as we get busier and busier, but it's still not going to be like, you know, LA or San Francisco. And I think, so I could sell Nashville all day, but I don't, I get more people. What I would say to anyone listening to this is that you always have to look at data. I don't ever really listen to people. And I hate to say that. And I've said that before and people get really upset, but it's like, I don't listen to the news I watch the news and everything and I take bits and pieces, but I don't really listen to brokers or what people say or the rumors. I really just look at the information. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the actual basics like supply and demand or whatever it is in your industry that is important, that is a driver, if you really just look at data and don't listen to the dialogue, then you can make your own assessment of what's actually happening. And that's something I've always done in terms of, why I got into industrial real estate. It was not what I did. It's not what I'm passionate about. It doesn't have anything to do with high design. But I looked at the data and I was like, this is a very undersupplied asset class. Same with the condo market, which is what I'm in. Same with the multifamily that I do that is skewed differently than, the multifamily buildings being built. So it's a lesson that is prolific, but if you look at the actual data of Nashville and all the jobs and the supply here versus the demand and the median household income versus the cost of living, then it's pretty like I'm bullish for the next decade for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I agree with you. I was talking to someone that moved here from New York, and he said, well, my wife said she didn't want to work anymore when they were contemplating the move. And then she, they came and visited. She said, well, but I think I might want to stay in New York. And he said, well, the question you have to ask yourself is, how serious were you about not wanting to work? If we stay in New York, you got to work. If we move to Nashville, he broke it down.
Yeah, you can probably, yeah.
He said, we save state income tax, we save city income taxes. Our property taxes here are 25%, 15 to 25% of what they were paying in New York. And and she said, oh, I she started adding it up, and she said, oh, I get it. It is a great lifestyle.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's not just that, it's just traffic. I mean, it's like when I have an appointment anywhere, I'm like, great, I'm going to get there in 15 minutes. It's in Nashville. I mean, I had my friends visit from LA last weekend and I said, oh, sorry for making you drive all the way out to East Nashville for brunch. And they're like, it took 15 minutes. And I said, yeah, that's like across town, and anywhere in LA is like 45 minutes to go to brunch,
Right.
It's like your whole day. So
right.
I've just gotten sort of spoiled living here, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Right. When you start thinking 15 minutes is a long way. I mean,
yeah.
we get a lot of people
all the way across town.
Right. We have people moving here from Chicago, and it's the same thing.Ey're like, man, I couldn't get anywhere as fast as I can get there here. So
yeah,
I'm good.
Well, Lauren has a question for you. So thank you for your question, Lauren. Lauren says, the growth of Nashville has been amazing. How would you encourage those that have lived here and would like to compete with those coming in from outside of Nashville when purchasing additional properties?
Well, I would say, I mean, it like the back of your hand, and those people certainly don't, and they're probably going to overpay. So I would leverage your local relationships. I'm assuming you're talking about real estate. So I would leverage your local relationships to find property and deals off market. That's something that outsiders don't have. I mean, I'm competing with these same people now, so I totally understand where you're coming from, girl. But your land, your landscape of the market and where the puck is going, like looking at the neighborhoods that you think are going to be the next hot neighborhood, right? I mean, if you look at Germantown or 12 South or these places that basically have appreciated by 5% or 5 times in the last 10 years, right? Like you can probably, if you're from here, you can probably spot those next cool places, go and drive around. And I mean, I've been doing I've been doing that a lot more lately. And I sometimes I find my deals just on runs, like because a couple of deals I found on running around because I know the market and I know the local beat and I can see like, hey, I think there's something to the waterfront. And everyone thought I was crazy in 2016. They're like, why do you want to be on the water? And I was like, it's like, hey, have you ever been to Chicago or San Francisco or anywhere else in the world?
Right.
Like, usually people want to be on the water, but in Nashville, it was just something that wasn't, so you having that sort of different perspective and looking and eyeing, one, your local relationships, and two, your local knowledge of the market and where you like, hey, where's your favorite, restaurant that's cool and up and coming, that's not, like maybe some, you know what I mean? You have the places you like to go that maybe aren't really cool, but if you like them, then other people will too. And that, those are the areas you start investing in or pitching.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that people don't recognize is when they think in terms of investors, or in developers, we're competing with. We may not be competing with a couple or a family moving from California that wants to buy a house, but we're competing with a company, a developer out of California or Texas or anywhere else in the country or the world, literally, that's competing for the same land that we're trying to buy. And they look at, not to get into as much detail, but they're looking at, okay, in New York, I can make 1%, a one cap on my property. In Nashville, I can make a 4. And Nashville developers, remember when we made 6s and 8s and 10s, and so we underwrite. A lot of times you underwrite yourself out of a deal, not realizing that the market has changed. And the same thing could be true and said for folks that have been living here a while. When you're thinking about buying a new house, you're saying, oh, well, there's no way I would pay that much for a house. Well, you wouldn't, but if you want one, then you're going to have to. There are literally neighborhoods in Nashville and around Nashville. They're going to starting to sell at $1,000 a square foot. These are homes, and lots that are less than an acre that are $2 million.
And I hate to say it, like I look at a lot of information. I look at a lot of data, and the prices are not going to go down ever again. Ever. No. So it's going to go up for the next 10 years. So if you want to buy a house, you should buy one soon. And that's what I would say. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's just not like there's just too many converging factors and it's not going to crash. It's just not going to crash at least here. So I would say if you want a house, you'll be kicking yourself, because I did the same thing a couple of years ago, passing on land parcels that now are trading for double. And I was going, oh, that seems like it's too much, but it just isn't. I mean, I don't, you have to be smart about it and not be stupid, but Lee's right. There's all these people coming that are willing to overpay. So as a local, you can either get your money from New York, like I do, because that's what, or you can have the upper, you have the knowledge of the market and you have the deals, and that's what people coming in from the outside don't have. And they might be willing to overpay, but they're competing with a lot more people, so you just kind of have to find your edge somehow.
Yeah.
So Meg, what would you say is the most difficult aspect of what you do?
There's so many things. I would never.
You only get to pick one.
I know. For most people, they'd say finance, but that's something that I've been able. Like I said, I just call so many people or not anymore. I mean, now I have a big. I talk to so many people that it depends, and I build a few different types of real estate that I just, if a certain deal fit someone's parameters, then I link it up, so that is probably a lot of people's hard part. I mean, the hardest parts about development are finding the deal and raising the capital. And those things have always come more naturally to me. Now it's the hardest part I have is running the company and having so many employees. I mean, it's not so many, but we're growing very quickly. We're hiring. There's, I have a team now. I have to manage the team, and there's a whole thing that comes along with that. And if I could just do deals and raise capital, I'd probably be really happy. But there's a lot of other responsibility that comes along with raising institutional funds and managing people that I have incredible people on my team and so talented, and I just much smarter than I am, and just amazingly hardworking, and they're really the ones that pull a lot of it off. And I'm so happy to have them, and I think it's changed the aspect of my job a little bit, and I think that when you're as fast growing in a market like this, that you have to be really cognizant of where you want to go as a company and what you want to represent, and not lose sight of that as you're growing quickly. And that's something I really try to focus on a lot. So that's definitely a challenging aspect. And there's a lot of weight on my shoulders now. I mean, there's a lot of people depending on me for their job. And I want to do exceptional projects. So it's a lot more pressure than it used to be when I was just, flipping houses or something. But
Right. That's fair.
And And as I get more institutional, my investors are public REITs and people like that. And, there's a picture, my husband put the picture of me in a bathing suit on Instagram, then I've heard about it from somewhere, it's like, okay, I guess it's not guess they have to be a lot more protected. So it's just one of those things that as you grow, but that's not, it's like a small side effect and nothing to complain about for sure.
Right. Yeah. That's cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So we want to make sure we get any last questions. If you guys have any questions for Meg, this has been an amazing time. And while you are conjuring up or thinking about your question, Meg, tell the viewers how they can connect with you, engage with you, how they can support you and everything that you have going on.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we try to post about once a week with everything going on CA South's Instagram. That's my company at CA South Development on Instagram, and LinkedIn as well. And my Instagram is Meg Epstein. But yeah, we try to follow along and stay in touch with people that way. And I love seeing what everyone else is doing in the market. And if I can help you in any way, I love helping other entrepreneurs and women, especially for Women's Day. And of course, appreciate Lee and Sherelle for having me on. It's such an honor.
Well, it's been our honor to have you.
Yes,
you definitely. The cool thing is you're bringing a different style along with your business, and I think that's one of the things that's really helping Nashville appeal to more people. Is it's not just one style anymore, and I think that's really, really cool. So continue to do the great things you're doing. I know you're nowhere close to where you want to be and where you're going to go. So keep on pushing.
Thank you so much, Lee. Yeah, I know I really appreciate everything you guys you're doing and Sherelle is doing. I mean, it's so great.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and we have a question. And hey, Nikita from Fort Worth, Texas. Talked to Nikita earlier, and Nikita is amazing. Wait till you guys get to hear all of the things that she's beginning to step into as well. Nikita has a question. She says, my industry is tax prep, but the insight to your approach to business operations in general is wealth. What tools do you recommend when the healthy conditioning has not been supportive? Any books?
What do I recommend when what?
When the healthy conditioning has not been supportive. So if you want to clarify your question, Nikita, you are at liberty to do so as well. But that's the question, which is simply, what tools do you recommend? I'll put it here on the screen so that you can see it as well. What tools do you recommend when the healthy conditioning has not been supporting? Any books?
I'm not sure if I follow what healthy conditioning is. So I'm slow though.
Well, feel free to clarify, Nikita. And self-doubting, as earlier. So she talked about the aspect of self-doubting. What tools do you recommend if you have found yourself in a space of self-doubting?
Okay.
I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one. I can't think of in terms of self-doubting.
Yeah. And so I'll give you a moment to think through that.
Yeah, I think if anything, I do start my day writing out my goals every morning, and sometimes it takes a long time, like even years, right? But I usually, if you keep reinforcing them and you kind of have a sense of your even daily or monthly goals, and then your yearly goals and your long-term life goals, I do kind of come back to that every couple times a week. I sit down and do that. So that's something that kind of is reorienting and helps me and kind of reinforces when I'm, and you can go back and look at your other successes that you've accomplished as well. So that's something sort of centering, and I try to do on my own time in the morning.
Awesome. So I want to give you, and if there's more that you want to think through for that, you are welcome to do so. In the meantime, I'm going to give a quick recap of just some of the amazing nuggets that Meg has shared throughout the entire time that we have been on. Believe it or not, it's been an hour already. This time always seems to go so fast.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
So yes, it really, really does. So just to give you guys a quick synopsis, and I've done some summarization. So feel free, Meg, if something doesn't quite gel, to offer any points of clarification. But do the things, sometimes you have to do the things that you need to do to get where you aspire to go. So Meg talked about, in the aspect of even getting into commercial real estate, that she started from a place of not having any experience. She did the work, she dug deep, she made the connections, she made the calls, she did the grunt work to get where she is. Sometimes we have to be willing to dig deep and do the things that we don't often feel we need to in order to get to where we aspire to be. Sometimes you have to work for nothing in order to get where you are. That's the whole journey of entrepreneurship, right? And sometimes it's the aspect of being able to humble ourselves, do the work so that we can build the credibility, so that we can continue to climb along the way. Sometimes empowering yourself comes from educating yourself. You don't always have to be the smartest person in the room. Sometimes it's knowing where to go to find the resources that we need in order to encourage ourselves to be successful, to grow our thriving organizations, be successful in corporate America or wherever you find yourself. Sometimes the empowerment literally comes from the ability for us to educate ourselves. A lot of what we can learn is oftentimes written in a book. So be comfortable, again, opening that book, digging deep so that you can inform yourself along the way. There is knowledge if you are willing to do the work. So guess what that means? That means that we've got to do the work, right? Here, as we talk about International Women's Day, it's about obviously continuing the work that has been started a long time ago. Sometimes you have to study in the craft that you are aiming to be so that you can perfect your craft. So you have to be willing, again, to study so that you can show yourself approved, so that you can then perfect your craft. Surround yourself with genuine people who want you to succeed. So whether that's family members, whether that's mentors or mentees, or people that are genuinely invested in your success and those who are able to champion your success. Have people who support you along the way. Take a chance on yourself so that people will be able to take a chance on you. So if we don't move in the things that we feel we are inspired to do or empowered to do, how can anyone else take a chance on us? So it's the aspect of just being comfortable, raising our hands, stepping forward, being able to persevere in such a way so that others can also take a chance on you. I wrote down, be relentless about being relentless. So this is where Meg talked a lot about persevering, and it's about digging deep. And sometimes the aspect of perseverance is simply a commitment to being relentless in your pursuit. So being able to definitely do that as well. Be intentional, be impactful, and great in whatever you are and whatever you decide to do. The work is only a part of the process. She talked about how, she finds herself to be more effective as a CEO or a leader within the company when she spends 20% in the business, but then also another large portion of the aspect of community. So making sure that what you're doing is directly impactful and connected in which the community you are, or the community of which you're thriving in, is so important. Believe in yourself and ask yourself, what do you believe about yourself? Because that's sometimes the energy of which we radiate and what we give off. Estimate with the anticipation of success, right?
Be able to compartmentalize negativity and not take that stuff on. Being confident about yourself. One of the things that you said, Meg, which was I think so great, which is it didn't matter that you didn't have the expertise in the field. You were willing to do the work. You had the confidence and the faith within yourself that regardless of what it was, that you were going to be successful in it. And then you were tenacious in it to back it up with the action. Amazing. As the business grows, the leader, or you as the leader, should also grow. So again, remembering to invest in yourself. And one of the, one of the last things she said is know that the prices to homes are only going to increase. So the best time to buy, if you haven't already, is now. So be sure to do that. And in moments when you feel that you are scattered or you're doubting yourself, revisit the goals as to why they were important to you to achieving in the first place. Meg, this has been awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Meg. Hey, someone asked, are you still flipping homes?
No.
No.
It's actually harder than what I do now, I think.
It is, yes. It is.
Yeah, I only do commercial. I only do commercial investment now, but more power to you if you can pull it off.
Indeed. Thank you, Meg, for your time. We appreciate you and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care. Thanks,
Bye.
Anna Hutchinson, for signing in.
Yes, and next week we will have another amazing guest on Women with Grit. Again, feel free to share this this particular feed. If you were not able to join in from the very beginning. We're so excited to have you on. So until we see you again next week, have a great one. Lee, go take care of that baby who has been wanting those chips.
Indeed.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.